Yasoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kuja Bihari Jaya Radha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Vishwa Paramahansa Maharajika Chaya Asatara Sisi Vadesi Bhaktavan Samshara Prabhupada Ki Jai Namaskar Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Param Sadha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Baba Gopida Shama Kunda Radha Kuda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Ki Jai Navadvipdan Ki Jai Ganga Jamuna Tulasi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samavetta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guru and God glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Prachadane Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschacharya Shatadane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10 chapter 49 verse 1 and 2. Sri Sukha Uvacha Sagatva Hastinapuram Pauravendra Yasonkitam Dadarsha Tatrambikeyam Sabhishmam Viduram Putam. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sukadev Goswami said, Sa, he, and Gatva, going Hastinapuram to Hastinapur, Paurava Indra, of the rulers of the dynasty of Kuru, Yasa, by the glory, Ankitam, decorated, Dadarsha, he saw, Tatra, there, Ambikeyam, son of Ambika, Sa, together with the Bhishmam, Bhishma, Viduram, Vidura, Pratam, Pritta. Sukadeva Goswami said, Akrura went to Hastinapur, the city distinguished by the glory of the Paurava rulers. There he saw Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, Vidura, and Kunti, along with Malika and his son Somadatta. He also saw Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Karna, Duryodhan, Asvatthama, the Pandavas, and other close friends. After Akrura, the son of Gandhini, had appropriately greeted all his relatives and friends, they asked him for news of their family members, and he in turn asked about their welfare. He remained in his Hastinapur for several months to scrutinize the conduct of the weak-willed king, who had bad sons and who was inclined to give in to the whims of mischievous advisors. Kunti and Vidura described to Akrura in detail the evil intentions of Dhritarashtra's sons, who could not tolerate the great qualities of Kunti's sons, such as their powerful influence, military skill, physical strength, bravery, and humility, or the intense affection the citizens had for them. Kunti and Vidura also told Akrura about how the sons of Dhritarashtra had tried to poison the Pandavas and carry out other such plots. Kunti Devi, taking advantage of her brother Akrura's visit, approached him confidentially. While remembering her birthplace, she spoke with tears in her eyes. Queen Kunti said, "O gentle one, do my parents, brothers, sisters, nephews, family women, and girlhood friends still remember us? Does our nephew Krishna, the Supreme Personality and compassionate shelter of his devotees, still remember his aunt's sons? And does the lotus-eyed Rama remember them also? Now that I am suffering in the midst of my enemies like a doe in the midst of wolves, will Krishna come to console me and my fatherless sons with his words? Krishna, Krishna, O great yogi, O supreme soul and protector of the universe, O Govinda, please protect me, who have surrendered to you. I and my sons are being overwhelmed by trouble." For her part, since Lord Krishna maintains the entire universe, thought Kunti Devi, surely he can protect our family. The word avasidatim indicates that Kunti Devi was overwhelmed by troubles. Thus exhausted, she was helplessly taking shelter of Sri Krishna. In her prayers in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Kunti admits that all these troubles were actually a blessing, for they forced her to always be intensely Krishna conscious. So here we have the story of how Akrura went to Hastinapur to inquire about the welfare of the Pandavas. So this was on the instruction of Krishna, just as Krishna had sent Uddhava to Vrindavan to inquire about the welfare of the people there and then deliver a message to the gopis and to try to console them. So here he sends a messenger to Hastinapur to inquire about the Pandavas. So in both cases we see that Krishna was concerned about his devotees. He was concerned about the people of Vrindavan, and he was also concerned about the Pandavas. Now at this stage, he hadn't seen the Pandavas yet. He hadn't met them. He had come to Mathura, and in either place, Mathura or in Vrindavan, the Pandavas weren't there. They were in Hastinapur and other places. So they had never met before, so there was never a meeting. It was only by hearing that they developed their attraction for Krishna. Nevertheless, we see that they had very strong attraction, eagerness, even before meeting him. So this is often the case. We see that even before meeting, there is often intense desire. We see that in the case of Rukmini. She desired Krishna as her husband, and she had not met him actually, or even seen him, but somehow she had developed that attraction by hearing. So this is often the case. The attraction is there. And it may be a very mature attraction, prema. And then after some time, they get to meet, and then there is a very great bliss at that meeting. So this is the case with the Pandavas. They had not met Krishna yet, so there was some attraction, but at the same time, lack of fulfillment because they hadn't even met him. On the other hand, the people of Vrindavan had already met Krishna, and then in separation, they were lamenting and feeling miserable, and therefore Krishna had to console them. In the case of the Pandavas, he was especially interested in trying to protect them because he had heard about the bad intentions of Dhritarashtra's sons towards the Pandavas, who were supposed to get the kingdom. So, therefore, he sent Akrura to find out the real situation, and this expresses his concern for his devotees. So Akrura, of course, was a good messenger because he was also a great devotee of the Lord. The Lord sent him because he was a great devotee, and he could understand the situation of the Pandavas, etc., very nicely, and he had sympathy for them. So, therefore, he was a suitable person to send. So we see here that the Pandavas and Kunti were all in a rather miserable position because of the situation with the sons of Dhritarashtra. At the same time, though we see here that Kunti is praying to Krishna for protection. Rather than simply glorify the Lord, she's directly praying for protection. Nevertheless, this is an expression of her great attachment to Krishna. We see that in the definition of bhakti itself, there is the first phrase, anya abhilashita sunya, devoid of other desires. So the other desires are material desires, desires for liberation, etc. So we can't have those desires. We should have a desire for pleasing Krishna. So everything other than that is considered not to be acceptable. And if there is, we call it mixed bhakti. But then the Goswamis explain that abhilasata is used instead of abhilash shunya, no desires. Abhilasata means desires in general. Other desires in general should not be there, which means that there can be occasional desires for things. As here we see, please protect me. So such exclamations can be made, and this does not interfere with the bhakti or contaminate the bhakti. If such prayers are constant all the time, just give me protection, then of course there is contamination. And we got people who, the arti, the arta-arti and the arti, etc., the arti is the one who is suffering. So he's constantly praying, please Lord, give me protection, please deliver me from suffering. So that becomes mixed bhakti, where it is very prominent. But where it is occasional, then it does not harm the bhakti. And of course, there are certain reasons why we have these requests for protection also. Now, of course, in the material world, people ask for protection and savor because they identify with the material body. These devotees don't have material bodies. So when the people of Raja say, save us from the forest fire, or here we find Kunti Devi say, save us from the harassment of the sons of Dhritarashtra, it's got nothing to do with material identity and fear of death, etc., because they're all eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. So rather, it's an expression of their surrender to Supreme Lord. So if we look at the definition of surrender, or Sharanagati or Sharanapatti, there it analyzes there are 6 factors, including offering of the self and feeling very humble. And one of them is to feel protected by the Lord, that He is my protector. So we have this conviction that He will protect me in all circumstances. So that's an aspect of surrender. So therefore, in dangerous situations, it is natural that fully surrendered devotees will feel the Lord is the protector. Rather than try to get protection from other persons, material persons or whatever like that. They simply rely on the Supreme Lord. So often you'll find that this is an expression of this surrender of the pure devotees or the Nityasiddha devotees, etc. Simply an expression of their complete absorption in the Supreme Lord, and therefore He's their natural protector. They call out to Him rather than any other person in extreme situations. At the same time, this is not a constant prayer they have. They're always having to do this. But in extreme situations, then they may occasionally utter such things, please protect us, or whatever like that. So here we find Kunti Devi calling out to Krishna. And she's actually calling his names. We see that Akrura was offering prayers and describing the greatness of Krishna as Supreme Lord, etc., and then how blessed we are that He has come to my house, like this. Give very nice expression. Here we find that Kunti Devi is simply calling out Krishna's names, Krishna, Krishna, Mahayogin, Vishvatman, Vishvabhavana, Govinda. So she's simply calling out the names of Krishna. So this is Nam Sankirtan. She's calling out the names of Krishna. So of course first she says simply Krishna, which is the ultimate name of Krishna. And then she calls him the Mahayogi, the great yogi. Because of course yogis have powers, so he has the most power of anyone. He can do the most miraculous, inconceivable things because he has all powers. And Vishvatma, he is the soul of the universe, which indicates Supreme Lord's position. He is the Atma of all the Atmas, the soul of the souls, soul of material energy, etc. Nothing moves without His will, etc. So again, it indicates His power, and also indicates His sympathy and His knowledge of everything, and therefore, because He does know about the plight of the devotees, He should help them. He should not let the devotees suffer, and therefore He can offer protection as a suitable. And Vishvabhavana, of course, also means bhava means, of course, the material world, or means the creation of the material world, the creator of the material world, and the protector of the material world. So again, a description of Krishna as Supreme Lord. He's the all-powerful person. And then the word Govinda, again, is referring directly to Krishna. So some of these words indicate Krishna as Supreme Lord and all of His powers, but then words like Krishna and Govinda will indicate His sweeter aspect. Krishna means all attractive, the giver of bliss, and Govinda, of course, means the person who gives pleasure to the cows and is playing in Vrindavan, etc. In this way, these words indicate the sweet aspect of Krishna. So she merely calls out the names of Krishna. Yeah. Then, of course, he also makes a request: please protect those who are surrendered, since we are overwhelmed by various catastrophes or whatever. So, her request for protection is along with praise of the Lord in the form of names only. If we just call out the names with no request, then we have a pure Nam Sankirtan, as with Hare Krishna, the simply names of the Lord, no request. So that's the simplest possible form of glorification. Of course, it's also considered to be the most powerful. Even though we don't have expression of so many complex ideas as in Akura's case, where he defines the nature of the Supreme Lord, etc. Here, just names of the Lord. Yet, it's considered to be the most powerful method of all, more than the other mantras that are uttered, like the Diksha mantras, etc. This is more powerful. Now, the Diksha mantras also are statements. They're not just names. They have the name of the Lord, but the name of the Lord is there, and there's some other verb form there as well. This is nothing. It's just names of the Lord. But to call out, it's a calling out to the Lord. So simply, of course, now we have the names of the Lord, and the names of the Lord have meaning, so there is some idea there of a person and a description of the person, and therefore praise of the person. So we say the word Krishna. It's also a praise of Krishna for his wonderful qualities of attracting, etc., or giving bliss, or Govinda. We are praising his attractive features as a cowherd boy. So it's praise also. So in that sense, it's kirtan. But it's in a particular form called sambodhana, which means to call out. Simply we call out, "O Krishna," "O Rama," etc. So it's calling out to a person. That's all it is. So this is often done to get attention. We call a person to get their attention. It's also done when there is great emotions. One may utter the name of a person in great emotion, out of great attraction. So that is the case with kirtan. Out of great attraction, these Siddha devotees, they simply call out the name of the Lord, even though they're capable of uttering complex prayers or whatever like that. Their great emotional attachments simply makes them utter the name of the Lord and call out to the Lord. So that it's the simplest possible expression, because it doesn't need any other word with it, just name of the Lord. But it also becomes the most powerful expression because it embodies all of the emotions of the devotee. So that is why it is an effective way of spiritual advancement. Simple, but at the same time, most powerful to convey our feelings for the Supreme Lord. So, of course, in Kali Yuga, this has become the Yuga Dharma. And, of course, it is glorified as among the processes of bhakti as being the highest process, the main process, because it's the most powerful. So, of course, we get a kirtan for any form of the Lord. We have Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 names of Vishnu, etc. Interestingly enough, though, Baladev Vedibhusam, because he is a Gaudiya Vaishnavacharya, therefore he interprets all the names as Krishna's names. Vishnu's names, but they're actually Krishna's names. Even Vishnu is a Krishna name. So he relates everything to Krishna, actually. So the Vishnu Sahasranam becomes Krishna Sahasranam. So therefore the names are there, and very, very powerful expression, non-different from the Supreme Lord. So simply calling out to the Lord can invoke the Lord very nicely. So not only is it practiced by people doing sadhana bhakti, but it's there with the Siddha devotees, as Kunti Devi is doing here, or the cowherd boys, or the gopis do. So even the Nitya Siddhas, they also do this Nam Sankirtan as well, as the most effective way of expressing their feelings for the Lord and invoking the Lord's presence, etc. So when the gopis were in distress not seeing the Lord, they did Nam Sankirtan, and then the Lord appeared. So it had the power to bring him. It's so powerful. So here, Kunti Devi is calling out the names of Krishna also in a similar way, out of great attraction to Krishna. And of course, implicit in that is the idea that he will respond and he will manifest himself to them and protect them, etc. However, the protection part is actually a minor factor. The main desire of the Siddha devotees is simply to associate and serve the Lord. So the gopis, they call out to Krishna in order that they can please him and serve him. So similarly, though she talks about protection, please protect us, at the same time, her main goal is simply to make the Lord appear, and that is the highest bliss for the devotee, rather than protection for themselves. Seeing the Lord and serving the Lord is the greatest bliss. So therefore, the plea for protection, we can say, is a pretext. We can say that the Lord will come, and then they can serve him nicely, and they can become very happy and blissful in seeing him. Also attached to this is the idea that she's praying not just for herself, she's actually praying for her sons, who are great devotees. So her request is therefore for the devotees. So if one makes a request for devotees, that is also in line with devotion, a pure devotion. So in the definition of bhakti, we have Krishna anusilanam, that we should cultivate a relationship with Krishna favorably, etc. But then our acharyas also comment that all the angas of bhakti are there, and their glorification of Krishna, hearing about Krishna, etc. But we can also do these angas in relation to devotees. And we can glorify the devotees, and we can hear about the devotees, we can serve the devotees. And it's also anusilan, Krishna anusilanam. It's not only Krishna, not only the avatars, other avatars, but also the devotees of the Lord are included in that. So that's also uttama bhakti. So a request for the Pandavas, of course, is also quite valid, acceptable, because Krishna is very interested in the Pandavas, and ultimately the whole Mahabharata is the story of how he supports the Pandavas so that they can rule the world. And this is also part of the plan of the Lord to destroy the demons and establish Dharma, etc. So the Pandavas are devotees of the Lord and instruments of the Lord in his greater plan during his appearance on earth. So he has great attachment to them also. So Kunti is encouraging Krishna to manifest his mercy to these great devotees and help them so that they can fulfill the Lord's plan. So therefore, we should not think that her plea for protection is anything selfish at all. It's actually very, very elevated.
When you speak of desire, actually the meaning of the dictionary meaning is I want something, hankering, I want to do something. But the Mayavadis, they say that we don't want to be having any desire, manolashana. So what is actual that desire? Because we also, even devotees have desire to come up into Krishna consciousness.
So for impersonalists and others, they may think, well, desire is the cause of karma, and karma is the cause of suffering and ignorance, etc. So that is true in the material world. So therefore, the immediate conclusion is, let us destroy desire. And of course the yogis, as Patanjali says, let's destroy the functions of the mind. Stop all of that, because it's a cause of ignorance and bondage in the material world. We can destroy the functions, operations of the mind completely, no desires, nothing, no thoughts, nothing, then we're liberated. However, the nature of the Atma is also to be conscious. And he's conscious of something. And so there must be some desire or something. If we're conscious of something, we will like or will dislike or something. There's some response there. So the jiva is a conscious entity that knows things and does things in response to his knowledge. So it's natural that the jiva should have knowledge and desire. But what's wrong with the desire? When it's desire based upon ignorance, desire for one's own enjoyment, then it becomes a cause of bondage. If it is desire to please the Lord, then it produces prema. Opposite, no bondage. So desire is not wrong, and it's only how it is directed. If we have our own enjoyment involved plus enjoyment of Krishna, then we get mixed bhakti. When we have only the Lord, not for ourselves, then we have pure bhakti. So that pure bhakti has desire in it, a desire to serve the Lord and only the Lord. So that is what Krishna Anusilanam is. It is only the desire to serve the Lord and please the Lord, no other desire. We start getting other desires, it becomes mixed. When we have no desire to please the Lord and only other desires, then we get material bondage. So desire in itself is not wrong or bad. It is how it is directed and how the jiva uses that desire which causes the problem.
Raj, you mentioned how occasionally a devotee may pray to the Lord for protection. And then you also said that there are two types. One is the eternal associates, like when they pray.
Yeah.
And the others are the devotees who are not like eternal associates. So is there a difference in terms of the prayer? Both of them, when they pray, it's identical, or?
Well, they both may pray, and in here case, pray for protection. So a person in the material world may also pray for protection. Ultimately, the prayer for protection here of Kunti Devi, or in other places when there's a forest fire, then the people pray for, save us from the forest fire. But then it's also explained that ultimately, the only way why they want to be saved is because they want to serve Krishna. They don't want to deprive him of that, of Krishna, of service. They have to do something for Krishna. If Krishna hasn't got any devotees, then what's going to happen to him? If he has no mother and father, what's going to happen? So therefore they pray that they be saved so they can serve Krishna and he can be happy. Without the devotees, he won't be happy. Of course, in the material world, we still have attachment to material bodies, but even then, if the body is used for Krishna, then there's no problem in that also. So we're also trying to serve the Supreme Lord, protect our body to serve the Lord, so there's no problem in that also. But of course, we've got material body we're dealing with. There is no material body.
So for practitioners of sadhana bhakti also, they can pray for the Lord's protection?
It should not be constant, and that's why it's anyabhalashita sunya. In general, no other desire, but occasionally, when there is circumstances and whatever danger, then you can pray, and it's not a blemish on one's pure bhakti.
I have no desire for women, and we know that mind contains, desire is sitting in mind. So when a person goes back home, back to Godhead, the mind is dissolved here. But the soul has a desire separately than the mind, or?
Yeah, soul has consciousness, and in the spiritual world, we can say it has a spiritual mind, spiritual intelligence, spiritual ego, etc. Even there's ego there. It's not the false ego of the material world, but there is a sense of identity. I am so and so. I am the son of this person in the spiritual world. I have a friend so and so. So there's always a sense of I.
Which means in the material world, the mind's desire is stronger than the soul's desire. Soul's desire is covered.
No, it's actually the soul, the jiva that decides to enjoy in the material world separate from the Lord. So the origins, of course, in the mind, it holds all of these impressions, etc. But the original cause is the desire of the jiva to just enjoy separately from the Lord. So that's coming from the jiva himself. Yeah. That's what I call it, bahirmukha jiva. We don't say the mind. See, the mind is only an instrument. It cannot do things on its own. It's the jiva behind it that's impelling it to do it. So if the jiva says, no, we don't want these desires, then the mind has to stop it. But it doesn't say that. It continues to encourage the mind to have more and more desires.
Maharaj made a point about this. Pure devotees also seek protection occasionally. But if my understanding is proper, Maharaj, even pure devotees like Haridas Thakur, in extreme situation like being beaten in the 22 marketplaces, he does not seek for protection, but he's only praying for them.
Yeah.
So that's
well, it depends. They don't have to. It's not that they have to get protection. If in some cases they don't. In some cases they may for certain purposes, as we see here. She's praying for protection. Or I don't know in Chaitanya's pastimes if there's anyone who prays for protection. I'm not sure of that. But again, we have another case. Prahlad does not pray for protection. He lets his father do anything. He doesn't say anything one way or the other, but depends on the situation. And it also is an involvement of lila. Certain lilas are there, and therefore there's like this one here, and therefore in those situations they pray for protection.
Maharaj also made a point that Kunti was praying for her sons, and then because praying for the devotees. In a different verse elsewhere, she's also saying, cut my knot towards affection for my sons. Mm-hmm. It seems an apparent difference, Maharaj.
Yeah, so this again is a projection of a material identity, as we see that even a Krur or someone else has to save us from this material world, and we are, attached to our family members, etc. He makes that statement in his last prayer, like that. You come to the house, so now you destroy all the obstacles we have in the form of attachments which are caused by the Lord's Maya. So they identify themselves as people of the material world, etc., but actually they're not. But they take up that identity as part of their pastimes.
Why should he pray that he should be getting rid of this karma? Like we have many that Rahu means destruction of sinful activities. Mm-hmm. Because of his past karma, he has to suffer.
Yeah.
And he's asking for protection of that karma. That means trying to nullify and escape from this.
Well, devotees doing sadhana, if they are practicing bhakti, generally they don't pray to destroy their karmas. As it said in Bhagavatam, they accept it as atmakritam vipakam, self-created problems. And they understand karma, and they think this is mercy of the Lord. And then the Lord is very merciful. So they don't actually try to counteract it in some way. But then in some cases we see like this. Of course, Kunti Devi could be very tolerant, says, okay, we are very tolerant of all the situation. But she calls out to the Lord like this spontaneously. Please protect us, please protect us. So sometimes there may be such outbursts or whatever out of attachment to the Supreme Lord. Huh? No, even if they don't, they will give, but this is simply an expression of her great attachment, actually.
Maharaj, what is the perfection to be achieved during japa? I mean, in Shikshashtaka, he says, Nayanam Galadashrudharaya. So, do we have to go through that all through our japa? What is the perfection to be attained during japa?
Well, obviously, as Prabhupada says, the perfection is to realize that Krishna is non-different from his name. And therefore, when you're chanting, then you realize Krishna and his form, his qualities, his lila, and rasa in the name. And so one participates with the Lord in pastimes ultimately through japa.
That doesn't cause a decrease in concentration?
No, because on that stage, the name and the Lord are not different. So there's no effort to try to equate them. That just spontaneously occurs.
The level of attachment for the primary name. We know the primary names are the highest.
Yeah.
So depending on the sadhaka's attachment for the primary names, he doesn't use the secondary names, or?
Yeah, well, generally we use the primary names rather than the secondary names, or it becomes a prominent feature at least. Here we can say that Vishatma is more or less a secondary name as compared to a primary name or whatever, but it's used in combination with Krishna, etc., so it's not a problem, but generally we give more prominence to the primary names.
Maharaj, you see, this, you explained this, this Pandavas never met before with Krishna, but they heard about Krishna's, greatness, and they developed love for Krishna. And here also Kunti, you see, she is praying and she was addressing Krishna the Supreme Lord simply by hearing. Correct, but it's difficult normally in the material to accept someone, without meeting or without, simply by hearing the,
Well, in the case of the Siddha devotees, it's not a problem in one sense.
They don't know that there are Siddha.
Huh?
They don't know that there are Siddha devotees.
Still, the bhava is there. It's not that sthayi bhava is not there. It's still there. It's present in them.
Can you say that they have a natural attachment for the Krishna?
Huh?
They have a natural attachment for Krishna.
Well, yeah, that means siddha. Siddha means the natural attachment is there. That means siddha.
So sometimes we see that this is as before Lord's appearance, this attachment is covered. It seems that apparently is covered, their attachment.
Yeah, it's according to pastimes. In the spiritual world, it's not covered at all. Here it is covered. So, for instance, the gopis don't feel attraction for Krishna, or not much, until they reach Kaishora age, or just before Kaishora age, or whatever. So it appears to be covered. So that's only part of pastimes. But it is nitya siddha for those persons.
So that means then till that time this their attachment unfold. What about their love for that Krishna?
Yeah, so it's not fully manifested. Yeah, so for the gopis it's called purva raga, prior attraction. So it's not full, manifests and gets stronger and stronger and stronger until they reach Kaishora, then it becomes most strong. So there's a manifestation of that as they grow older.
श्रीमद् भागवतम की